Holy crap, guys, we got Meowscarada EX.deck. I'm excited to see this. So, Meowscarada is one of my favorite new Pokemon. Not Meowscarada itself, I suppose. It's more Sprigatito. Sprigatito is my dude. It looks like we got maybe a Gardevoir deck here on the left. These are pretty standard cards that you would be playing in that. But I'm very curious to see exactly how Meowscarada goes. I would assume that it's got a positive win-loss ratio for being at this point in the tournament, but you never know because sometimes these Japanese rounds like to put players on with like losing records for some reason. So, as always, this is another round of the Japan Championships. It's like their national championships, so whether or not some of them get invites to the World Championships is based off of their results of this tournament. Not really sure exactly how their invite structure works. It does not work like the rest of the world that is run by TPCI, because they are run strictly by TPC, the parent company of TPCI. So, you know, the big dogs, the real TPC. So just searching through the deck, seeing what Pokemon, what other cards are in there, what is prized. It's always good to at least identify a few prize cards. Usually in the Gardevoir deck, you want to make sure you know how many Ralts, Curlias, and Gardevoirs you have available to you. The rest you can just like kind of figure it out as you go through the match. Usually the turn one is just that. Maybe you want to check how many exactly energies you have, but that's not something you need to do turn one either. You always want to make sure that you save as much time as possible, so you can't spend too much time checking your prize cards. You don't really need to identify all 6 on the very first search of the game. You don't want to spend 5 minutes doing your deck search, because then you're just going to tie every single round at the tournaments that you are at. Just identify whatever's important and then go from there. If you really need to know what's in your prize cards, just play a heavy ball in your list. If you draw it, then you can take notes on exactly what's in there. So, gonna use that Battle VIP pass to get 2 Ralts. Started with a Ralt, so that's the 3 that you normally want to start with. This might actually be a little bit more of an even matchup since these are both 2 prize decks. However, the Meowscarada deck can actually do some additional damage. It has a ability similar to Inteleon VMAX and the old Greninja cards, where you can discard an energy from your hand to put damage counters into play. I do believe it's 2 under 1 Pokemon, I want to say, which is not that much. I do have a whole entire set list out in front of me right now, so let me look at Meowscarada. Bouquet Magic. You must discard a basic grass energy from your hand in order to use this ability. Once during your turn, you may put 3 damage counters on one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. So 3 is better than 2, that's for sure. For some reason I thought this was 3, kind of like the old Water Shuriken Greninja, and the Inteleon VMAX does 2, but it does it to 2 Pokemon. So 3 onto 1 Pokemon is a pretty substantial amount of damage. If your opponent was to, say, not evolve their Ralts and they're playing the 60 HP one, like it's the Memory Skip one, you could knock it out with just 2 Bouquet Magic. So you could do that in one turn if you have 2 Meowscarada EXs. So it also has an attack Scratching Nails 100 plus another 120 damage on if your opponent's active Pokemon already has damage on it. And it does cost a double turbo energy, so you could just hit a solid 200 plus the damage counters that are already on it after using it. So after using a double turbo, it would be 200 because you start at 220. And then with the 3 damage counters that's already on it, that would be 230. You can knock out basic Vs with just 1 hit. So that is actually sizable damage. The only thing holding this back is the fact that it is a Stage 2 Pokemon, just like Gardevoir. Looks like we're having some sort of a ruling going on with the judges here. Not quite sure exactly what's going on. Looks like the starting Pokemon has disappeared from this player on the right. I'm not sure what is going on necessarily. Oh no, it's still there. Yeah, so a lot of these times I see the judges stopping the match, and maybe they're just like telling the players exactly how they should be acting on stream, maybe. Maybe they're just like concealing their cards a little too much so the cameras can't see them, or maybe they're just playing a little too fast or unclear. So we'll just have to see if any sort of penalty comes from that, but I'm kind of doubting it because I haven't seen any penalties yet during this entire tournament. So, of course, gonna search through the deck, see what Pokemon and other cards that we may have available here. Looks like we are using the Stadium card Artisan. It is the Grass Gym Leader's City, so fits very thematically with Meowscarada being a Grass-type Pokemon as well. Meowscarada also very reminiscent of Greninja in the fact that its secondary type is also dark, so we may see dark type Meowscarada cards in the future. So that is cool to see. Also, oddly enough, it not only is it part dark type, but also Incineroar is another cat starter Pokemon that was part dark type. So discarding a Meowscarada EX already off of this first Ultra Ball is a little bit scary, just because we did see that there was one already one Meowscarada EX in the prize cards, but it is in a low prize card, so it might not matter too much. We are also playing Arceus V as well, it seems. I do believe that there are some decks like chien-pao right now that are playing just a 1/1 Arceus V-Star line just to use Starbirth and not necessarily to even attack with it. So that is probably what they're doing in this matchup, is trying to just use Arceus V-Star's V-Star power. You could always attach a double turbo energy and use it to charge energy to itself for the next turn to attack with Trinity Nova, but its attacks, Trinity Charge and Trinity Nova, only allow you to attach basic energies to your Pokemon V in play. So you would not be able to set up any of these Sprigatitos that are on the bench with that attack. It looks like we have two different Sprigatitos on the bench here. It looks like both of them have 1 retreat cost and 70 HP. So I guess it really doesn't matter, but I think if I were to choose, I would play the one that has the attack for 10 for 1 colorless energy, as opposed to the one that attacks for 20 with 2 colorless energies. I want to say that's what it is. We are still on HD, right? Yes, we are. I did have to fix that right before this match. So looks like we also have Wordeer in this Gardevoir deck on the left, which is a surprising addition. You can move energies that are in play to it, and it can hit for big numbers based on the amount of energies that are on it. So not too bad of an inclusion, but it is an interesting one, because normally you would just rather see a Zacian V instead. Gets a little bit more damage output, as well as the fact that you can Psychic Embrace to it, but I suppose that the Wordeer can come in fresh. You could always put a bunch of energy on one of your Psychic Pokemon, damage them up, and then bring the Wordeer in, play Collapse Stadium, and discard the Pokemon that you just heavily damaged. So that could be an interesting way to use the Wordeer, just assuming that that's something you may do. As at a first glance, I haven't actually seen anybody play like that, so we'll just have to see exactly how this matchup is going to go. So we get a third Sprigatito to the bench. We have not seen any Florgatos yet, or Meowscaradas, of course, 2 of them not being available to this player right now. We do replace the Artisan with the Mesagosa to flip heads and grab any Pokemon from our deck. We're going to grab the Arceus V-Star to use its V-Star power Starbirth to search the deck for any 2 cards. So we could just go for Rare Candy Meowscarada right now, or we might be able to go for a draw supporter, since looks like we do not have that much in hand, and I don't think we've used one yet this turn. We also have a Bidoof on the bench, so we could go for the Beep Roll. We could draw cards that way as well. That would be a really great thing to see. That would probably be the best card to get. So maybe a Bidoof as well as a draw supporter. You could always go for Bidoof and maybe a looks like we already had one of those pieces in hand, so we either had the Rare Candy already or the Meowscarada already, so we used Starbirth to get the other one, and then the Beebrill as the second option, and now we're able to draw until we have 5 cards in our hand. Looks like we still have, looks like maybe 1 card, or no, we just drew with the Beebrill, so we drew up until we had 5 cards in our hand. We may have just had no cards in hand. Oh, we even have the Radiant Alakazam. That is the perfect Radiant to have in this deck. Radiant Alakazam, for those who don't know, Mr. Spoonman himself, I like to call him. He can move up to 2 damage counters from one of your opponent's Pokemon to another one of their Pokemon. So you can choose just 1, or you can choose to do 2. So if you were to use Meowscarada's ability, and then you want to choose to move it to a different Pokemon, that is a way to do it. So you could always damage their bench like the ability is forced to do, and then use the Radiant Alakazam to change it to the active, move 2 of those damage counters to the active, and then you can effectively hit for 220 with a double turbo energy. So definitely seems like a really interesting deck. I'm curious to see this deck go forward. I did not pick up any Meowscaradas so far, because I'm assuming it's not going to be good in this format, but give it another rotation or two, and I think that a lot of these Stage 2 decks like this will be very powerful, because I think that Pokemon is trying to go more into the direction of these kinds of things and less in the direction of things like Mew VMAX and Inteleon VMAX and all those VMAX and V-Star Pokemon. I think that they want their 2 prize format to be more based around Stage 2 Pokemon than Stage 1s and Basics. Although they are still putting some Basics out there. But like Chien-pao is very reliant on a Stage 2 as its support in Baxcalibur. Ting Lu is very slow, even though its support Pokemon is the Koraidon, which is another Basic V. The damage output with Miraidon is fairly low. At 220. So, yeah, it seems like the more powerful Pokemon will definitely be the Stage 2s going forward, but again, it will take a year or two for the real good stuff from the past that's still left in the format to cycle out, to make sure. I think once we are in Scarlet and Violet on, we're going to have a very, very interesting format for sure. So we are going to Rare Candy into the Shining Arcana Gardevoir and draw 2 cards immediately off of that. Looks like neither of those are Psychic Energies, so we're not going to be able to attach those. We're going to use another Refinement for our turn. We've already used one, discarding another Psychic Energy into the discard pile. We want as many of those in there as possible for use with our Gardevoir EX's Psychic Embrace ability. We are going to get yet another Kirlia off of this Level Ball. We're going to be able to discard yet another card in order to discard another card from our hand, thinning it out, getting rid of cards that we don't need. Looks like a Level Ball this time, but if we ever find Battle VIP passes or more Psychic Energies, which we want in the discard pile, we will be putting them there. And we really want to find some more Gardevoir stuff. We do have Ultra Balls. We did evolve into pretty much all those Kirlias this turn, or they came into play. So I don't know if there's one to evolve yet, or were those Mirage stepped out? Or 2 of those Mirage stepped out, I'm not sure. It looks like there's no Pokemon under them, so I might have missed that. We are going to Rare Candy the 1 Ralts that is still left in play into the Gardevoir EX, so we are going to be able to use our Psychic Embrace this turn. We'll be able to stack a whole bunch of energy onto this Gardevoir in the active spot. We can only put 6 from the discard pile, but here's the attachment of the Reversal Energy. That is a triple rainbow. When you are losing, the opponent has taken 1 prize, so they are technically losing right now. That activates the triple colorless. We're going to put 5 energies from the discard pile, which is 100 in damage counters from the Gardevoir EX being on that. So that is 5, 6, 7, 8 energies effectively on this Gardevoir now. And we will be able to take the 1-shot on the Arceus V-Star. So 60 plus 30 for each energy attached to the Pokemon. Not energy card, just psychic energy. So that reversal energy is counting as 3 psychic energies at that moment. No longer, because you are winning now. You have to be losing. You can't be tied on prizes either. But these Meowscaradas do have extra HP. They do have 310, just like the Gardevoir EX. So it's going to be a lot harder to knock out these Meowscaradas going forward, especially with the reversal energy already down. A lot of these Gardevoir decks only play 1 or 2 copies, so you're going to have to find another one to attach from hand to the next Shining Arcana Gardevoir, or to the, I guess you can't do it to the Zacian. I think that might be why some of these decks are cutting back the Zacian to 1 copy again. Just because it's a little bit more effective to be attacking with the Shining Arcanas now that you have the reversal energy. So Meowscarada's got that double turbo energy. It's going to be able to hit for 200 as long as the active Pokemon has damage counters on it. The Gardevoir deck, of course, damaging itself, so that's going to make it even easier for Meowscarada to hit that 200 damage output number. It looks like we have maybe another judge ruling. I think that... Oh, we're putting out the prize. Oh, we shuffled up the prize cards with the heavy ball, and the judge is putting them out for them. So that's a really good way to use the judges. I think that personally, if I'm ever on stream and I'm using a heavy ball, I am going to make the the judge shuffle my prizes and put them out for me. Because they are so far off to the side as opposed to where you normally are. It looks like in Japan there, they have the prizes fairly close to where they normally play and always on the left side. Because most people, all right-handed, they put their prizes on the left side. But if you were to play the other way around, or if you're on stream during, like, say, an American, like, tournament like NAIC. They're going to put both prize cards on the side towards the judges. So if you are playing on the right side, you're going to have the prizes on your right side where your deck is. And technically that's against the rules because you're supposed to have them on the opposite side of where your deck and prize cards are. So then technically that forces you to play left-handed if you're on the right side of the table, which is a very, very unfortunate situation to be in. And Pokemon should just not put you in a position like that. They should just design their table correctly. Or just not do prize cams. I think that would be fine too, because I'm effectively not playing with prize cams most of the time, right? Like I can't see the prize cards at all times, so what's the point of the prize cam? So we are going to get the attack off with the Meowscarada. We're hitting that Gardevoir for 200 damage, way more than we need. That's 300 damage counters on that Gardevoir when they check for the knockout. We also have the third Meowscarada currently in play as well. We have the alt art one there. Looks really nice. I think it's a little bit overpriced for my taste right now, but I'm definitely looking for Sprigatito alt arts if anybody... I don't know if this is going to come out before NAIC, but if anybody sees me at NAIC and they got some Sprigatito alt arts, I'm definitely looking for them. I don't think I'm going to be looking for Florgato or Meowscarada, though. I think just the Sprigatitos. I just need a playset of those bad boys. Looking at the set list, too, the two Sprigatitos that are in Paldea Evolved, one of them is a Gather Sunlight one, which can search your deck for basic energies to put in your hand, which is really cool, but it's a 60 HP one, so you don't want to play that. And then the other one is the 70 HP one that does Dig Claws for 30 if you have 2 energy on it, so... I mean, I guess that one's okay because you're playing double turbo. You could always attack for 10 with it, but I think the other one's a promo. So I think maybe the promo one is the most playable one because you could always attach a grass energy to that to do 10. I don't think it was a promo for Japan, but it's a promo for us. So evolving into the Shining Arcana Gardevoir, we're going to be able to draw yet another 2 cards. So we've been able to draw an additional 6 this turn from 2 Curlias and 1 Shining Arcana Gardevoir. We have the Gardevoir of our own, the Gardevoir EX in the active spot. We can put damage on ourself in order to be able to attack, but that's going to, again, feed the damage output of this Meowscarada. So if you were able to use Shining Arcana... Oh, looks like we're going for a 3rd Shining Arcana here, because we did, of course, Super Rod 1 back into the deck, so it's likely this deck is only playing 2, but we are going back for that. And playing the Iono as well is really good here, but the opponent has a Bibarel as well as another Bidoof in play, so they're going to be really easy way to draw out of any bad hand that they may get with that. But if we can get 2 Psychic Energies off a Shining Arcana here, we can put them both to the active, then attach for turn, and we can leave our Gardevoir with no damage counters on it to make it so the damage output from the Meowscarada is a little bit less, but I think the Meowscarada 2-shots us either way, because if we were to just get hit for 100, which would be 80 after the double turbo, that's still putting damage counters on ourselves. Actually, no, because then they would do 280 over the course of 2 turns. So yeah, a Gardevoir that's undamaged here would be super beneficial to the player on the left. We'd be able to get an additional turn out of this Gardevoir, but it's going to get 2-shot if we have to self-damage ourselves. So drawing 2 cards, neither of which are Psychic Energies, of course, because a majority of those are in the discard pile right now. I'm assuming there's probably around 6. I know there's at least 5. We're going to put 2 from the discard pile under ourselves here, just so we can retreat. And yeah, the attack with the Cresselia is much better here. We are going to still have damage counters on our Gardevoir, but we're just going to hope that our opponent does not have a boss's orders. So I think, let's see, so that's 6. I think that you still go for the additional energy on the other Shining Arcana, maybe? I don't know. Or maybe we just do it to our whole bench and we just do a bunch of damage with this Cresselia. So yeah, we're doing 1 to the Shining Arcana and 1 to the Ralts as well, and we're going to heal all the damage off of all of our Pokemon except for 20 from the Gardevoir will still be there, so the Gardevoir EX. So we are going to Oh, that's a Florgato. I thought that was the Meowscarada EX. That's the Florgato, the stage 1. So we were able to knock that one out. That only has 90 HP, so we put 100 damage onto our own Pokemon. We're able to take that knockout. So that's a pretty solid knockout there. We were still short of knocking out the Bibarel, so if we were not able to get that to that 100 number, I think the next best choice would be to knock out the Bidoof that's on the bench. Of course, playing all those nice alt art Pokemon, the Bidoof and the Bibarel. We went to a league challenge last month, and one of my a couple of people, actually, one of them was one of my friends, won PSA 9 alt art Bidoofs as door prizes. It was really weird. I think that store is getting into PSA grading a lot of cards that come in, so I think that's the direction they want to go with. But PSA 9 Bidoofs, not worth it as much as a PSA 10, so might as well give them away as a door prize. PSA 10s, on average, are 3 times the price of a PSA 9. For any card for any game, generally speaking. Although, if you're looking at real old stuff like base set, it's a very large difference. You could be looking at a difference between like $1,000 and like $30,000 if it's like base set Charizard or something crazy like that. Looks like we are going to be using Meowscarada's ability, discarding a Grass Energy. We're going to be able to put 3 damage counters on one of our opponent's Pokemon here. Which one are we going to choose? I think that we go for the Gardevoir EX. Actually, well, we can't go for the Cresselia, so yeah, just put the damage counters onto the Ralts, and then I think that you use the Radiant Alakazam to move 1 damage counter to the Cresselia so that you can knock it out this turn. You'd go to 2 prize cards remaining. You will be ahead of the game here. So it's looking like this Meowscarada deck might be a little bit favored against Gardevoir right now. Of course, Gardevoir could always put a bunch of damage counters on its own Shining Arcana Gardevoir, leaving itself at 20 health remaining, and you could always boss something else up and then use the ability of Meowscarada to knock out that Pokemon on the bench, take a prize card, and still be able to attack for turn. So, yep, looks like we are using Radiant Alakazam, the Radiant Spoon Man himself, to move that 1 damage counter so we can take that prize. Yeah, so this is a very good combo going on right here. You love to see the fact that there's also a couple Bibarel in play, so that is making them Iono-proof here. They would be Iono'd to 2, but they can always draw an extra few cards with the Bibarel ability. So this player on the left with the Gardevoir deciding who they want to promote to the active spot. They're really going to need a reversal energy this turn if they want to take a knockout, I do believe. So let me think here. How much do they need to one-shot the Meowscarada? So they do base 60. So they're going to need 8 energies, right? 8 is 240. They need 9 energies in order to one-shot a Meowscarada. They'll be just 10 damage short if they do 8. Because 8 would be 240 for the energies, and the base 60 would be 300. So you're going to use a couple Shining Arcanas, looking for Psychic energies. And yeah, we need 9 energies on this Gardevoir. It is doable. You have 1 on it right now. You can put 6 from the discard into play. Puts you at 7, and then you still need 1 more attachment for turn. So I guess you don't necessarily need the reversal energy. You just need an attach for turn. It would be a lot easier to get this going if you did have the Champions Festival available to you, because then you could accelerate 7 from the discard pile and already have the knockout lined up without having to attach for turn. But it looks like we are going for a boss's orders instead. We're going to move that Radiant Alakazam to the active spot instead. It's a very interesting play because I'm not sure what benefit you receive from knocking out the Radiant Alakazam instead. Oh, but I think we're going to go for an attack with the Gardevoir EX because we know that that cannot be one-shot on this next turn, unlike the other Pokemon that are on our bench. So I think we're just trying to play around with forcing our opponent to not be able to take a knockout, it seems. I'm not sure how well over this is going to go, because if the opponent here just attacks with Meowscarada and then plays boss's orders the next turn, they just win. because they can just knock that out instead. Or they could just boss 2 times on the Pokemon on the bench. They've already used at least 1 boss's orders, so it depends on how many are even in the deck. So I would say that just rely on having maybe 1 more boss's orders. Just hit the active. It's got 60 damage on it. You hit for 200. That'll leave it at 260 remaining, even if it heals from like a Cresselia. You should be able to take the win off of a boss's orders attacking with the last Meowscarada that you have in play. So yeah, this is probably like a 4-1-4 line of Meowscarada, because we did see the Florgato. It's possible that it's a 4-2-4, but 4-1-4 makes a little bit more sense. It's really hard to fit all of those extra Pokemon in there. For the stage 1s, it's a lot better to just play the 4 rare candy. So we are going for the Artisan, looking through our deck for a basic Pokemon we do fail to find. We are going to replace it with the Mesagosa. We are going to flip tails, so we're not going to be able to search for any Pokemon. We were probably going to go for another Florgato or another Meowscarada with that. We might have maybe a rare candy in hand. That would be a good way to thin the deck, is to get that Meowscarada out. You could rare candy into it and then be able to use the... yeah, it looks like we do have a rare candy, so we would be able to use a Beaverol to draw more cards, but looks like we'll just be a little bit short here. We do have a Cynthia's Ambition, an interesting inclusion in here. Usually that's only played in pure single prize decks like the Malamar that I was talking about in a previous round. We are going to use Super Rod to put back in... Or no, we're using Clara. Oh, okay. So we still have it. We just don't have the ability to draw as many cards with Beaverol now. So we do get 2 Grass Energy back, as well as the Meowscarada and the Radiant Alakazam. So even though the Radiant Alakazam was knocked out on the previous turn, we were able to completely recycle that, as well as a Meowscarada, to rare candy into it. And this Meowscarada is off to the races. It's knocking out a Curlia to take a prize, and if it has a boss's orders right now, it will just be able to win the game. But it looks like instead we are going to be using our ability to set up another Shining Arcana Gardevoir, so that it has less of an ability to get those energies onto it. And yeah, I think you feel perfectly safe here, just hitting into the Gardevoir EX, and then the next turn, any Pokemon that your opponent has in play will die to a Meowscarada. Except for the Ralts, I suppose, if it evolves into a either Gardevoir. If you rare candy that, it would not be able to be knocked out in 1 hit from Meowscarada. But at this point, your opponent still needs to take 2 prize cards. And how are they going to pull that off with those damaged... Shining Arcanas? My cat is... What are you doing? Oh, she was bringing me the bunny. You guys want to see Dead Bunny? This is Dead Bunny. This is my cat's oldest toy. It doesn't even have a face anymore. It just has 2 eyes. It doesn't even have, like, much hair at all on it. She just carries this around in her mouth and goes, "Meow," like she just killed it and she's trying to give me a gift. So that's Dead Bunny. She wanted to let me know that she was bringing it to me. Yep, so just hitting into the Gardevoir EX. I mean, again, you feel pretty safe in this position as that Pokemon, as that deck. So it looks like they're pausing play again for another thing with the judges. Guy on the left is laughing. They're taking the headphones off. I think the opponent on the left did concede at this point, so that must be what's going on here. So they're zooming into this guy. I'm assuming that's to say that he won. So yeah, Meowscarada did win the game. Are we gonna go for the match slip? Are we signing that? I just want to make sure. But in case that is exactly what happened, as always, do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe and all that good stuff up above. Check out the description box down below for all the links to the socials, the Discord, all that good stuff, the merch store. And we will see you guys next time, because yeah, it looks like the match is... let me just make sure. Yeah, it looks like the match is over. So yeah, I'm assuming Meowscarada won, because that Gardevoir deck did have no way out from that position. Even though it did get down to 2 prize cards, it was almost possible. Maybe if there was a Zacian in that player's next turn, they might have been able to pull it out. But without the Zacian, unlikely.